Welcome back to Allen Financial Services, where we break down financial topics to help you build a smarter future. Today, we're diving into a financial product that gets a lot of mixed reactions: annuities. Love them or hate them, they're a key piece of many retirement strategies. Why do some people overlook them? What makes them a valuable option? Stick around because we're unpacking it all today with David Allen, a financial expert in retirement planning. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm happy to be here.
So let's start with something simple. There's more than one kind of annuity, right? Fixed and variable. Can you break down the differences, David?
Absolutely. Annuities are an interesting product, but what a lot of people don't understand is it's a product that is used tremendously more pre-retirement and when you've retired than most people even realize. So fixed annuities, variable annuities, fixed indexed annuities. There's multiple different kinds, but an annuity, very simply, it's just a holding vehicle that needs to be structured to do what you need. So an annuity can be an IRA, traditional, Roth, SEP, any of them. It can be an after-tax or what's called a non-qualified account. It takes on the title and the property of what you need it to do. Now, fixed annuities versus variable annuities. Variable annuities, the word variable just simply means that the money you have in that annuity is going to be invested in the markets. So that means if the markets go up, your money can go up. The markets go down, you could lose. So back in the golden era, if you will, go back 30, 40 years, variable annuities were massively popular. Today, not so much, because people today really have to be able to smartly take care of themselves. Your parents or your grandparents, just like my parents, when they stopped working, they were given a golden watch or a diamond necklace, and they were given a monthly check, a pension. Today, that theory, for the most part, is gone. And the question that people need to ask themselves is, are we doing enough as individuals? And are we saving appropriately so that we can stop working on our terms versus having to work longer than we want, or God forbid, our employer telling us it's time for you to go. I need to, get a younger workforce. So that variable annuity might not be the best answer because you can lose money. A fixed annuity or a fixed indexed annuity is something that can grow with the market, but more importantly, it has a guarantee feature in there that says you're not going to lose anything if the markets go down. Okay, so depending on what the client needs, what the proper agent needs to do, people like you and myself and others in the industry, is we need to analyze what they're trying to accomplish, what the type of income is that they need, and then make sure we match the right tool with the annuity world to what their program is so that they can get done what they want to have done.
Thank you. So it's safe to say that most people tend to move into these closer to retirement. Why is that?
People are moving into it closer to retirement. If they're not, they should be, in my opinion. They're free to think how they want. So some people don't. But when we look at some of the studies that have been done over the last 5 to 10 years, the percentages of people as they get closer to retirement that are rebalancing and reallocating some of the money that they've had invested in the markets through their IRAs and 401ks, for example, are being rebalanced into the annuity marketplace. They're still able to make money, but they start to become more focused on no losses. If you're 35 or 40 and your retirement account takes a loss of 10, 15, 20%, you got time for that to rebuild, to recoup that loss. But if you're 55 or 60 and you're wanting to be done working at 65, 67, 70 years old, and you take a 20% loss, there might not be enough time for that to actually grow back. So if this was you, Kevin, for example, and at the age of 60, you lose 20%, you're going to have to make 25% on your money just to get the money back that you lost, which means that's 25% of earnings that you're not even seeing, because all you're trying to do now is get that money back. The biggest problem with that is if you wait too long to protect your money, it's going to have potentially a substantial effect on the monthly income you're going to be able to generate for yourself when you stop working. And when people stop working, most of their income is going to be fixed, things like Social Security. If they've got a government or an agency job, it might be a pension from them plus whatever they've saved privately. So making sure that they're rebalancing at the appropriate time, which I think people should start more seriously than not in their early 50s, 51, 52, 53. They should be looking at those rebalancing wherever possible so that they can make sure they're as protected as they can so that they can actually stop working on their terms.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are unaware of how long it takes to make money back in something other than, a safe policy such as an annuity. So yeah. So now a lot of people have 401ks and IRAs, but annuities are different. Can you unpack the key differences between the two?
And what's important is a 401k, and you can insert, for those people that understand this, 403bs and 457s and deferred comp plans. These are all what I'm going to call the corporate retirement vehicle. Okay. So you've got the ability to set aside some of your income every time you get paid into these types of vehicles. They're going to be regulated, they're going to be managed by companies that are securities firms. They're going to put your money in the market so it can grow, but you have a risk of loss. You're going to pay some fees in there, but because they're larger, your fees are generally fairly manageable. But you have that element of risk. An IRA is money you're saving personally, not corporately, but personally. It could be with the same securities advisor, going to go up with the market, but you also have that risk of loss. With the annuity, generally speaking, is going to be owned by you personally. So it can be an annuity that is an IRA. It can be an annuity that is a Roth IRA. So the IRA account that you have, whether there's 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever number there is, it could utilize the annuity vehicle for its growth, for its protection against loss, to fix or reduce its fees, and annuities can be designed, if the client wants it, to generate that income stream when the time comes. So the corporate plan generally does not use the annuity, the individual does. So depending on the needs of the individual, there's a timing that you can look at for moving money from your corporate plan into your personal plan and then locking it down with these annuities so you know you don't lose. You just want to maximize as much growth as you can and then be able to turn on that income stream at the appropriate time.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting. I've been studying up on, 401ks and IRAs, and then, when you talk about an advisor and stuff, there's a lot of fees, and then there's front loading and back loading when it comes to, these kind of investments that people don't ever really know about. It's just, oh, I've got this going, this, that, and the other. But when you start really diving deep into stuff like that and kind of understanding finances a little more in detail, there's a lot more getting charged to folks through a 401k or an IRA that they're not even aware of. As far as, I feel strongly about annuities and the different capabilities that they offer, but I've noticed a lot of people overlook them. Why do you think that is?
In my opinion, the securities firms, they don't push annuities because it's not considered a managed asset unless they use the variable type of annuity. Because the securities firms only get paid based upon volume that they can manage and control for growth. They tell you they're going to do everything they can to help you grow your money. They don't control at all how much you're going to lose. Sometimes if the markets are going down, you can't get into a stop order desk to place an order to limit that loss, and you're at their mercy. But because the securities firms, generally speaking, do not manage annuities, they're not going to talk about them. So if they don't talk about them and people understand the securities firms are the norm, because they're used to using them because of things like 401ks. They don't know that these are out there. So it's our job to make sure that individuals that we speak to understand that there's more options than what they're aware of. And more importantly, how do these options differ from what they have? And how could they possibly do better for your client? We have an obligation to make sure anything we recommend is going to put them in a better position. Most often, and more often than not, an annuity can and will do that. There's going to be a time where it doesn't. We just have to be honest and say you're in a great spot. Don't make any changes. But what I've seen is probably 90%, maybe more, of the people I talk to always seem to do a little better by making a change and rebalancing some of their money into the annuity marketplace. But it's overlooked because the status quo, the securities firms, whose names I'm intentionally, obviously, not speaking about, they don't
Right.
talk about it because they don't get paid to make those recommendations. They want to recommend a stock, a bond, or a mutual fund because they get paid to manage that.
That's
Annuities
their
don't
vehicle.
require those same types of management, so the fees are substantially lower. And the securities brokers, they don't want to lose the business, so they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, you know, all right, let's get into the core question, David. What are the main benefits and risk involved with an annuity?
Great question, Kevin. So when you look at benefits and risks, you're talking about a trade-off. Okay. Can your 401k make you money? Yes, when the market goes up. Can your annuity make you money? Yes, when the market goes up. Are you going to make as much money from a growth perspective with an annuity as you do with that 401k? Probably not. However, what's your trade-off? The 401k, you have a 100% risk of loss. If the market goes down and you have money in a 401k, who loses? You do.
Yeah.
If you have an annuity and you've got built in a no risk guarantee, which is how most of them are worded, and the market goes down, who loses? The carrier that's managing your annuity portfolio. They're taking on that risk because your annuity had a provision that says you have no risk. Often, what you'll see on an illustration is there's no downside risk to your money being in this annuity. So, that benefit of growing, you're going to get on both sides, maybe a little bit more with the 401k, just to be very transparent. But on the risk side, you're having no risk with the annuity versus with that 401k. So the benefit on the risk side, put the check mark on the side of the annuity. Your fees, depending on your structure and how aggressive you do or don't want to be, could be zero, could be 1%, might be more or less if it's a 401k. That just depends on what the client needs. So you really can't talk about which one's going to be better or not. The big factor there is, can you lose with one? Yes. Can you lose with the other? No. And then the effect that has is when it's time to turn on your income. The annuity can be structured to give you a lifetime income stream, even if you outlive the balance in your account, because they're contracts. So the contract says if we as the annuity company have already paid you out 100% of your money, but you live another 15 years beyond that, your contract says you're still going to get a monthly deposit and they're going to make sure that happens. Your 401k is simply a savings tool. There's no guaranteed income. If your money runs out, you have no more income. So we can put the check mark on the side of the annuity as well. But again, what the consumer needs to understand is they need to get with a qualified expert like yourself or me or any one of the hundreds of thousands that are out there and make sure that things are being analyzed properly to put them in the best possible position to be able to stop working on their terms and have enough cash flow that they don't have to go back.
Amen to that. Okay. So, how do annuities compare to other retirement options, income options?
Every option's a little bit different. Every carrier, they've got their own bells and whistles that, this option's better than another option. It's tough to talk about which option is better Because what we really don't know, Kevin, is which option makes the most sense for the client. So there could be a client that's got enough retirement income, or maybe they've got a massive amount of passive income through things like rental properties that they don't really need a huge amount of income from that retirement account. So some of the options like guaranteed income streams, they might not be interested in, but
Okay.
they do like the no loss. They do like that creates a legacy that they don't have without it. So the income options that are out there really is going to be more better defined by having a solid understanding of what your client needs and then doing the research to make sure you can check off as much of that as you can. So it's kind of a tough question to answer because there's no catch-all answer that you can provide. You know, what you might need could be completely different than what I need. Might be completely different than John might need or Mary might need because their situations are all different. So we need to be able to have those conversations and let our clients understand that we're there for them and that we understand what those needs are so we can figure out which options are going to make the most sense for them.
And to unpack that a little more is that it doesn't matter if you've got a lot of money or a little bit of money, or, if I've got several different ways of making money, that we can kind of make these a little more customizable maybe to each individual.
100%. They can always be customized. Most products are all going to work very similar, but they're also going to have individual features within a product, within a carrier that's a little bit different than their competition because they're trying to carve out their niche. So
Yeah.
the solid independent advisor has access to the entire marketplace, so they can compare multiple companies and multiple products to make sure that they can prepare a solution for their client, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, David. Fees. What should people know about the fees? Are there any
Well,
fees?
yeah, there's always going to be fees of some sort. There are a few products, and it's rare, that have no fees. But when I talk fees with one of my clients, I talk about it from two different buckets. There's the bucket that has their core money, their principal, and then there's the bucket that is their benefit or their income. Now, your core account could be as low as zero because there's no risk of loss. So a lot of companies might say, we're not going to charge you to manage the money because we know that we've guaranteed that you're not going to lose money. But that guarantee that says Kevin's going to get a monthly income starting the day he stops working, that's typically a rider. It's an added benefit to that annuity that will generally come with a fee. What the fee does is it guarantees that for as long as you're alive, you're going to have a monthly deposit dropped into your bank. So we're able to identify what that is. We can project what that might look like. If the markets outperform our projections, your income is going to be a little bit bigger. We can give you that minimum guaranteed. So no matter what happens in the market, you know you're going to get so much money per month dropped in. That fee, most companies are somewhere between 50 basis points and maybe 1.5%. But knowing that that's going to give you that lifetime guarantee, to me, that's a very reasonable fee. And when you compare it against what a lot of people are paying in their 401ks and their IRAs that are managed, we're normally going to see that we're saving money for our clients at the same time, which means the money they're not spending in fees stays in their principal account, which means it's got increased opportunity for additional growth. And it just compounds from that into additional income for them when you turn the rider on.
What about the payout structures? How do those work? I mean, how do you get paid from an annuity?
That's great. The answer on that one is real simple. If I've structured an annuity for you, we know that, for example, at the age of 63, you want to stop working. So at 62 and a half, we're going to sit down and have a discussion, and we're going to fill out a couple sheets of paper that say, hi, I'm Kevin. I have this annuity. This is the policy number. Here's my bank account information. I want my checks to start dropping into my account on this date, and I want them monthly. And you turn in the form. It's that simple. The annuity companies give you the ability, if you need income taxes to be deducted, they can deduct it before they distribute the money. You'll get a tax form at the end of the year that says, here's your distribution. Here's how much money we held out and paid to the federal government and to the great state of wherever you're living, so that you can get your taxes prepared by your preparer because they'll know exactly what happened. Okay. Now, the payout structures can be a check, they can be direct deposit. You can get one check a year, you can get one check a month. However often the Kevins of the world want to receive their money, the annuity companies simply want you to be happy when it's time to draw it out, and it's done. Now, if you do not turn on the lifetime income rider and the money in your annuity runs out, you have no more income. The guarantee is only if you exercise and turn on that rider. So if you turn on the guaranteed income, it's a lifetime payout. If you don't turn it on, when that annuity money runs out, when they've paid it all back to you,
Well, it's dry,
they're going to
huh?
say, hey, Kevin, your account's now closed because you didn't turn on your rider. So one of the most important things I do is make sure when we're turning on income, we discuss, do you need the rider? Do you not? If you're not going to take it now, maybe we need to turn it on later, but we want to make sure we have that conversation. Okay.
It seemed like they take care of all the legwork, so it's not something you really have to worry about. It seems like they're putting out the checks, taking care of whatever it is, and you get to enjoy your retirement. Nice.
Yeah.
Is there any like expected rate of return? I mean, what's realistic?
Yeah, that's a good question because a lot of people look at annuities and like, can I make the same 17, 18% I made last year, in
Yeah.
my 401k before I move it? And the answer is maybe, but annuities, specifically the fixed index annuities that I know you and I like to really work with a lot, the target growth rate on those is 3 to 7% annually over the lifetime that you have the annuity active. So as long as you're earning between 3 and 7%, you're earning 3 to 7% on your money, but you have no risk of loss. So you might earn 4% this year, you might earn 5% next year, you might earn 2% the year after. Market may go gangbusters. In year number four, you might make 19 or 20%. But in year five, when the market goes down, if that's the year that it goes down, you lose nothing. And that guaranteed no loss extends to all of the growth you've just earned in prior years. So, for example, you've got $100,000 and it grows to 150, and then the market drops, you're still at 150,000. You don't give back anything, not principal, not growth, not anything. So the rate of return, we sort of have the same crystal ball that the securities advisors do. We don't know what's going to happen out there, but annuities, generally speaking, the managed side of it from the annuity companies, their target is 3 to 7% that they like to try to see for our clients.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's a huge difference when it comes to riding the roller coaster of I don't know what's going to happen next year or the following year. Inflation's a big deal, especially in retirees. How does that affect annuities?
Most annuities have an option to give you some sort of inflationary adjustment. So they have what's called an increasing payout. So they can adjust as the markets pay you more money on your account, and it can adjust sometimes for things like inflation as well.
Let's talk about like liquidity. If someone needs their money early, can they get that out of the annuity? Can they withdraw it?
100% yes. What I like to remind my clients of is the following. That annuity is their money. They always have access to it. Most annuities, I'm going to say probably 99.9% of them, might as well just say all of them, they have a front end surrender period. Could be 5 years, 7 years, maybe a little bit longer. During the surrender period, your agent needs to disclose to you that there's a maximum percentage of the value of your annuity that you can take out each year during that surrender period. Generally speaking, it's 5 or 10% of the value of your account. If you need more than that, it's your money, you get it, but there would be a cost to take out the dollars greater than that percentage. It would normally be a declining scale, so it might be more expensive in the first couple years than it would be in the last couple years. Once you get beyond that surrender period, there's no charge at all, no matter how much money you want to draw in an emergency. Now, I want to bring in here real quick, you have things like an RMD, required minimum distribution, which on pre-tax accounts like an IRA, the government says as late as the age of 72, you have to start drawing your money out. So you have to take out a minimum of, or they're going to penalize you for not doing so. But if you turn on that lifetime income rider and the rider does not pay you enough money to cover the RMD, the annuity company will automatically increase your rider value to make sure you're compliant for tax purposes. That's been in every contract I've ever seen. So you'll never have to worry about being out of compliance with the federal government.
So if
So
you
they'll
don't
make
need
sure
your
that you're
money,
taken care
wow. So they'll even calculate that for you, keep it
of. Yep.
all taken care of. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but my parents, they're not so financially savvy. They wouldn't know what they need to put out there for, taking care of those required disbursements. That's super helpful. So, as far as tax wise, how do annuities compare tax wise with other investments? Do you get
Well,
taxed
I
quite a
mean,
bit?
taxes, yeah, taxes are dependent on everybody individually. IRAs are taxed as regular income. So when you pull money out of your IRA, whatever you draw out is fully taxable. Depending on the state you live in, you might have state income taxes. You might live in a state that has no income taxes, like Nevada or Tennessee or Florida. But whatever you draw from that IRA, you're going to pay income tax on. If you have an after-tax account, for example, what they call a non-qualified account, the money that you put in money that you've already paid tax on. So only the growth in that account will be taxed when you draw it out. Now, right here is when most of my clients will say, oh, well, can I choose when I take out the income? Meaning, if I put $100,000 in and it grows to 150, can I pull from the 100 and not from the 50 so I don't pay tax, right? And the answer is no. The government's very clear. If there's growth in those accounts, in these after-tax accounts, that represents income that you have never paid tax on, if you draw money out, that's the money that's going to come out first because the government wants their tax dollars. If there's a year that there's a combination of non-taxed dollars and principal in these non-qualified accounts, you could distribute money that's partially taxable to you. But once all of the untaxed monies is distributed and you're really now distributing previously taxed money, that's when it would be tax-free to you. But tax-wise, as far as what your rate's going to be, I don't know what your rate is, Kevin. Whatever it is, that's what your tax bracket's going to be. Mine's going to be at whatever mine is. John and Mary are going to be whatever theirs is. So that's something that honestly, what I recommend to all advisors is get a hold of their CPA. So if there's any taxes that have to be taken out, they can tell us what we need to tell the annuity company to withdraw in percentages. So we make sure the client's covered.
Okay, nice. So it pretty much treated the same across the board when it comes to these kind of things comparatively, I guess it sounds like, for the most
Right.
part. Nice. Okay. Man, David, that's been super insightful. And before we wrap up, any final advice or some consideration when considering an annuity?
Final advice would be make sure you understand if it'll work for you and if the benefits outweigh taking the risk of loss. And when I have that conversation with somebody, I know you're in the middle of the country. I'm out here in California. So my local clients, I might use what I call my Vegas analogy, right? Maybe you and your wife are going to go to Las Vegas, but while you're packing before you take off to get to the airport, you're going to have a conversation about how much money you're willing to gamble in Vegas. Translated, what's the most amount of money you're willing to lose? And as long as you don't lose a penny more than that dollar amount, that stay in Vegas is a win, right? I believe when you're looking at your retirement portfolio, that we need to ask ourselves that same question. How much of our retirement portfolio are we willing to risk losing if the markets go down and never recover? Whether it's today, tomorrow, next month, next year, or between now and when I stop working. So if you've got a portfolio and it's your IRA and it loses 20% and the market never rebounds, is that going to be too much to stomach? Most of my clients are going to say yes. So I'm going to identify how much they're willing to lose. And at the end of the day, I simply just want to be another person on their team. So when I identify what they're willing to lose, what they're also telling me is what they're not willing to lose. So Kevin, if you decided 5% of your portfolio you're willing to lose if it never rebounds, you're telling me at the exact same time that the other 95% of your portfolio you're not willing to risk. I'm
Yeah.
simply going to tell you, I'm going to go find you an option to look at for that 95%. The 5% you're willing to risk, leave it where it's at. If you hit a couple of home runs, that's fantastic. But now by moving potentially the other 95%, 100% of your investment at risk is what you left where it's at now. The rest of it we go and we protect with an annuity. We get the right structure for it. We get the right account. We look at your income options if that's something that's important to you. But I think it's super important for every John, every Mary, every Kevin, every David out there to understand that this is an option that can make sure when they stop working, they're going to hit the financial goals they need for themselves. And if they're not having that discussion with people they do know, they need to be asking people, who do you talk to that's not at a securities firm that could talk to me? Who can I have this conversation with? The most important thing we can do as an agent is learn how to be an effective communicator about the options we can bring to the table.
You don't have to put all your money into one of these. You can put a portion of it. It's not like you got to roll the whole 401k or IRA. It's about what you're willing to protect and what you're willing to put at risk. And that's a lot to be packed up in one little podcast here, and a fantastic insight. Thanks for joining us. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone planning for retirement. And until next time, stay smart with your money. Thanks, David.